Hi, I'm Coach Mark Hadley, and I'm here today with another video blog to talk to you about another important topic in the world of running. This time I want to talk to you about recovery. When I say recovery, what I'm talking about is the recovery portion of our Stress and Recover base unit. We talked in our first blog about the Stress and Recover principle and how you stress the body in a certain way, either by running far or running fast, or some combination of the two, and you break down the body, and then you allow it to recover. And once it's recovered, it will come back better adapted to that original stress. So what I want to talk today is about that recovery portion and what that looks like. In our last blog, we talked about easy runs, which are a component of our recovery, but they're not all of our recovery. And a lot of people only think of the runs that they do on whether or not they're working hard or recovering. But there's more to recovery than just that. So I want to talk a little bit more about that today. Also, I wanted to say that recovery can also mean the recovery that we do at the end of a training cycle. We can have a long training cycle where we built up for a big race, let's say a half marathon or marathon, and then after that we take a break for a while, and I call that a regeneration break. That's sort of an extended recovery phase. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a later blog when I cover training cycle design, but today I want to talk about the recovery piece of just a stress and recover cycle. So usually it'll last 1 to 3 days long, the recovery after a stress workout or a race. Okay, so I think it's important to think of recovery starting immediately after we finish a stress workout. Recovery starts immediately, and it goes all the way to when we start our next stress workout. And there's multiple different components of it. There are things that the cool down that we do after a stress workout, that's the first step in recovery. That's part of our recovery. The eating, and what we eat and drink is important. How much sleeping that we do is important. Resting, just our day-to-day activity, how much rest do we get in a normal day? Easy runs. Do we take an easy run or not? How many easy runs do we do? How far? How fast? Those are all components of our recovery. The stretching that we do, that's part of recovery. Our rolling and any type of massage that we get, those are elements into our recovery. And then additional recovery therapies such as an ice bath or warm Epsom salt bath or cryotherapy. Those are all things that are part of recovery as well. So let's take a look at each one of those things and how do they impact our recovery and how are they part of our recovery. Okay, first, cool downs. When we talk about a cool down, it's the first step in our recovery process. Usually at the end of a stress workout, a lot of times, especially the end of a quality stress workout where we've done some fast running in there. And it includes just some easy jogging. The purposes of that is to, we're doing some easy jogging, and what we're doing is we're removing out the waste products from the cells. We're helping to clear the cells of any waste buildup of waste products that we've got from our workout. And then we're also flushing the muscles and the soft tissues with nutrient-rich blood supply to help the recovery process get started. So it's just a short, easy run that we do immediately after the quality workout, the quality stress workout we do in order to jumpstart that recovery process. Next, eating and drinking is a big important part of our recovery. The timing of what we eat and drink is almost as important as what we eat and drink, so we need to keep that in mind. There are sort of 3 different windows that we have that we want to think about in terms of our eating. First is immediately after our stress workout. Within the first 20 minutes after our stress workout, we want to have some type of recovery drink. We want to start replacing the fluids that we've lost in the workout, as well as the electrolytes that we've lost, and then start replacing key nutrients that our body needs in order to rebuild and start repairing itself. Your body's going to be more readily able to absorb this and absorb it quicker and be more receptive to it within the first 20 minutes after exercise. So it's important that you have a recovery drink with you. There are several recovery drinks out there. There's sports drinks out there, or there's even something simple as chocolate milk. A low-fat chocolate milk can be a great recovery drink. It's got the fluids. It's got some electrolytes in it. It's got a good combination of the carbs to protein, the right ratio that we need to start helping our bodies rebuild. So that's very important. The second window we need to look at is having a meal fairly soon after a stress workout, whether it be a long run or a speed workout, tempo run. Something we want to try to get in a decent meal, a well-balanced meal with a lot of different nutrient groups in there. We want to try to get that in within 2 to 3 hours after a stress workout. Within 2 hours is great, but at least within 3. That helps the process. We're feeding the body. We're helping it to start to repair itself, to regenerate itself, so they can come back even stronger. And so it needs that food, needs those nutrients to be able to do that. So food is an important aspect immediately after the stress workout. But then also just on a day-to-day basis, we need to make sure that we're getting in sufficient enough calories for our bodies to repair and regenerate. But we also need to get in the right nutrients. So we want to have a well-balanced diet. We want to be eating the healthier foods within each food group. And then, we want to make sure that we're as consistent as possible. And by doing that, we can find the right balance for us. What's the calorie intake that we need to have in order to be able to maintain our energy on a consistent basis and have all the right nutrients and not become nutrient deficient in a certain area. That's a little bit of a topic for a whole blog in and of itself, a whole video blog, which we'll get more into later. But I wanted to mention that is because it is an important part of recovery, that the fact that we're getting in the right things, but also at the right times when our bodies need them. So that's an important aspect that we need to keep in mind when we're recovering. Nutrients our nutrition is a very important part. Sleeping is another important factor to our recovery. Our bodies and minds recover best when we're sleeping. So it's important that we get a good amount of sleep, and that we try to be as consistent as possible with sleep. In a lot of respects, and I've heard multiple other people say this, in a lot of respects, your bed can be your best recovery tool. To give your body that time and your mind that time it needs to regenerate and recover. Your body releases certain hormones and enzymes and stuff while you're sleeping that allow it to recover better. So try to be as consistent as you can in getting a sufficient night's sleep. I know we all have hectic lives and there's different things that come up and we can't always get as much sleep, but sometimes we're better off turning off that TV a half an hour early or delaying that alarm a half an hour and getting the rest that we need so that our bodies can recover. So think of, sleep as an important aspect of our training. Like, I got to go to bed early. I'm training. So that's can be an important aspect. Naps can be a great way to supplement. If you can't get enough sleep at night, you have different requirements on you, and you can't always get enough sleep. Naps can be a great way. Even a short 20-minute nap can physically and mentally revitalize you. So naps are great. A lot of times you'll hear about runners who do a long run on Saturday or Sunday morning and then take a nap in the afternoon. Great way to jumpstart the recovery process. Let the body, shut down for a little while and regenerate, and that'll give a good jumpstart to your recovery process. So sleeping is a big component. So that that's one of the things you want to think of. And then just general resting, and by resting I mean, what is your activity level on a normal day? How active are you during the day? Do you have a job that requires you to be on your feet all the time? Or are you at a desk all the time? Just how active are you during the day? Are you on vacation? Are you on your feet sightseeing all day? Those are important components and will determine somewhat on how well you can recover. So if you have really active time, say, so you have something coming up the next day after a hard workout, and you're going to be on your feet for 8 hours that day, and it's just going to be hard. Your body's not going to recover as well that day, so you need to take that into account. Say, hey, I need to add another recovery day in there because I'm just not going to get enough recovery on this day because of all the activity I have. So, just don't think of it on whether or not you've run, but also what is your normal activity levels. you want to try to avoid long hours on your feet. Or long hours of just sitting behind a desk and not moving. I used to work in the corporate world for over a decade, and I would have to get up, at least every hour and walk around the floor and stretch my legs out, do some exercises just to keep myself from getting tight from sitting down for so long. So those are things that just to keep in mind and to think about. Other things would include, you want to avoid awkward sitting and standing positions for a long period of time where you're putting more pressure on one area or another. Those are all things that, we don't necessarily think about, but can add up over time and will impact our ability to recover. Next are easy runs, and we just talked about in the last video blog our easy runs. We talked about that in depth. We use those easy runs as part of our recovery to maintain or advance our cardiovascular fitness while letting our bodies recover. And it also flushes our muscles with oxygen-rich and nutrient-rich blood, which helps the recovery process. So recovery runs can be an important component. Factors in there are that, just like we talked about, the length and duration of the run, what kind of pace we run at, how many easy runs do we do in between our stress workouts. Those are all factors that will impact our recovery. So they're things that we want to consider. Next, I want to talk about stretching. Stretching, is a factor in our recovery. It helps, regular stretching, whether before or after a run or at some other point during the day, helps us maintain a proper range of motion that we need in all of our muscle groups. So it's important to do. But it also helps in aid recovery because it increases our blood flow and helps get nutrient-rich blood supply to these different muscles who are trying to heal and trying to recover, trying to regenerate. Plus, it reduces soreness and tightening, which also a factor in our recovery. We're going to recover better if our muscles are loose than as opposed to being tight. Speaking of that, is sort of the next topic here was sort of rolling and massage work, whether it be self-massage or professional massage. And there's various different types of rollers out there that people use to roll tight muscles and stuff. Can be great for loosening up these tight muscles and tendons, whether you have a tight IT band or if you have tight calves or a soreness in a certain area. Rolling can be a great way to loosen those up. It helps the soft tissues repair themselves. It can help work out soreness. It can be just a great activity to use as part of your recovery to work on any areas that are particularly sore or tight after a stress workout. So that can be a component of our recovery that we want to take into account, whether or not we're able to do some of this. And then lastly, sort of I call this other recovery therapies, and can include things like, do we take an ice bath? Are we able to take an ice bath for part of our recovery? Or do we do a cryotherapy? If we have a cryotherapy chamber where we can get that works similar to an ice bath, but works a lot quicker. Or a warm Epsom salt bath. We don't always want to get into an ice bath. We want to take a warm Epsom salt bath. Can be great for helping loosening up tight muscles and tendons, especially if we do a little light rolling or stretching afterwards. Can be a great way and very important part of our recovery. So there was sort of a laundry list of things that we talked about that they're all part of our recovery, all part of this stress and recover cycle, and things that we can do to help aid our recovery so that we recover better. Because remember, we're not going to get the benefit of all that hard work we've done in the stress workout until we've adequately recovered. You can get that super compensation benefit and improve our fitness, but we don't get that until we recover. So that's why I wanted to have a whole blog here just talking about recovery and some of the different factors so that we can think of all those things and make sure that we have an active recovery and we're doing all the things necessary to help our bodies recover. Review recovery is just not as the runs you do, whether or not you run, but it's also all the other things that you do that help the body regenerate itself. The more consistent that we can be with these things, the better and more predictable our recovery will be, and that will help us over time. So that basically it covers our recovery. In our next blog, we're going to start talking about some of our stress workouts. But until then, Be happy and run healthy.